House Leader, third party.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. As a result of COVID-19 and the subsequent economic slowdown, we have seen well over 140,000 young people become unemployed. If we do not immediately address this level of unemployment in our youth, the negative effects personally to those affected and economically to our province will be felt for many years to come. Recently, the government announced the creation of 500 green jobs through the Youth Community Partnership Program, a number far too small, but we'll get to that issue shortly. First, my question for you, Honourable Speaker, is to the Minister of Advanced Education and Skills Training. The government press release and subsequent coverage makes it unclear as to the source of the funding for this Youth Community Partnership Program. Could the Minister please break down for us how much money for this program came from the federal government and how much from the province?
Minister, Advanced Education, Skills and Training.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I'd like to thank the member opposite for the question. Youth programming is deeply important to me and our government. One of the first things that we did was eliminate and make it free for students to get adult basic education. We launched the first tuition waiver program for former youth in care. We fund the Blade Runners program, which is a program province-wide that helps at-risk young people. And we're deeply committed to having young people enter the trades. We're working with the Industry Training Authority to get young people in the trades. 7,000 young people access training in pre-apprentice programs. The member opposite is asking a question about our workforce development agreement, which was negotiated with the federal government. And it was to provide British Columbia with the flexibility that we need to be responsive. And just for the record, we are still in the middle of the pandemic. We're in the middle of COVID. We've been planning and working and funding and supporting programs from youth from day one. The announcement that was made last week with my colleague, Minister for Poverty Reduction and Social Development, is about partnerships. It's about building environmental stewardship programs throughout the province, getting young people into the labour market. We have to remember that some of these 15-year-olds are getting their first job. The needs of 27-year-olds might be different. So the program is really about getting young people out there, building back better is a word that we've been using, building those trails that people are using throughout our province, building those patios that we want people to be accessing. The member opposite was just talking about tourism and the fact that we're in the middle of the recovery phase. We're in the middle of trying to get people back out of their homes into the job site, getting that work experience. So I appreciate the question from the member opposite. There is always more to do. One of the things that I'm most proud of was in Budget 2020 was our BC Access Grant, which is going to support young people to go back to school and get up to $4,000 to train at public post-secondary institutions. So we know that there's always more to do, but for the time being, we're going to get through this pandemic together, and we're going to do it by not leaving young people behind.
Thank you. House Leader, third party on a supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I recognize and commend the Minister for the many programs. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I recognize and commend the Minister for the programs that she's itemized. However, that wasn't the question I asked. So the program that was announced last week, this Youth Community Partnership Program, provides 500 jobs. Now, we have a situation where we have over 140,000 youth unemployed in British Columbia, which would mean that 500 jobs would account for less than 1% of employment for those youth. However, it is employment in sectors that would really help with a recovery to COVID, to the pandemic that the Minister speaks of, because it would promote not only economic growth, skills training, job opportunities, but also restoration of the environment, which is much needed across the province. And so I guess I'll come back to the original question that I had for the Minister. In the announcement, it said that the funding is being provided by Advanced Education, Skills and Training, $2 million, and Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction, $3 million. However, what it doesn't identify is how much of that funding came from the federal government and how much from the provincial government. And if it was indeed $5 million from the federal government, I'm wondering about how the province can leverage more of that money by adding funding from the province so that we can see far more jobs created for youth, which are sorely needed. So my question again through you, Honourable Minister, Honourable Speaker, is to the Minister of Advanced Education and Skills Training. Again, could the Minister tell us how much of that funding came from the federal government and what she will do to leverage that so we get far more than 500 much needed youth jobs in this province?
Minister, Advanced Education, Skills and Training.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And I guess I would just say to the Honourable Member, we're in a very challenging time. It's not for a lack of people wanting to return to work. We need to make sure that the working conditions are safe. We need to make sure that we're working with the provincial health officer and WorkSafe BC to make sure that, again, the conditions are safe for young people. This isn't just a program to help 500 young people. Our ministry is helping offer a suite of programs to young people like Blade Runners, as mentioned earlier, for at-risk youth, get skills and training. The Workforce Development Agreement is $685 million negotiated between the province of BC and the federal government to allow us the flexibility to meet the needs of the community and to be responsive. We're not just supporting young people to work on the environmental stewardship program. We want young people to enter the trades. We need young people to enter the trades. We are moving the dial to have young people involved in the trades, as well as going back to school, trying to make it more affordable for young people to go back to school. The BC Access Grant was the first lift in a decade after the former government cut it. So we are deeply committed to making sure that we open the doors to opportunity. We recognize that this is a very challenging time. My daughter's 16 years old. These young people are graduating in the middle of a health pandemic. We know that there is more to do, but this is a temporary measure across a continuum of services that we know that young people are signing up for. We helped 4,200 young people last year that were at risk getting funding through this workforce.
Thank you, Minister.